You're listening to the A Bit From Within podcast with Felicia Marty. It happens like a snap where we make a decision based on something that we experienced at one point in an interaction with somebody else. And the truth is, we don't know if that is still a thing, or if we present it in a certain way, if it's going to be the same thing. And we're also allowed to give ourselves new opportunities to move through it and reapproach it and renegotiate it in new ways. Hello there, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today for a new episode of the A Bit From Within podcast. I'm your host, Felicia, and I'm feeling so grateful to be sitting down, having this moment to record right now. It is Monday evening as I'm recording this, and I feel like I am still in a place of kind of that high that you get after a really amazing massage. I had one earlier today, and it was a lot of deep work, and I needed it so bad. My body needed it. And so I'm trying to slam some water right now and make sure that I can really flush out all of the stuff that was kind of released inside of my body. And I'm trying just to hold space for myself and let myself really begin this transition into this slower time. This year, it just kicked my butt, and I'm able to say that now. I know that so many of you who have been listening for a long time, I'm sure as I kind of think back on this year, I'm sure that plenty of you can kind of see how, for a lot of this year, I think I was just trying to be as strong as I could be, just going through the motions, trying to be as present as I could, trying to tackle it all, just being really fierce. And I think I was that, and I think I did a good job. I give myself a pat on the back. But as it starts to quiet down a little bit, I'm starting to notice the bumps and bruises and maybe even some of the stuff that left a lasting impact on me, in hopefully in good ways, but right now I'm thinking more of the bad ways, the stuff that I'm feeling a little bit scarred by. And I'm trying my best right now to begin to heal, to take care of myself, to give myself a little bit of space, to give the areas of my innermost self that need some inspiration right now, that need to feel back in alignment. I'm just really, really working on that right now. And it feels good to be able to acknowledge where I'm at. And I feel like in general, I have so much support through that process right now. I have Dave, who, even though he's going through so much and, his health journey continues to evolve, we're still getting closer to ruling things out. But we're waiting on one next test next month that will hopefully help solidify some stuff that he's been going through. He still feels not so great, so that's been really hard. But he's been, even in spite of it all, he's been so supportive of me. And we have somehow become closer and closer together. Now, I will say, it is not like that every single day. In fact, multiple days last week, we had huge blow-up arguments, and I'm not here to air any dirty laundry or anything. It's just I often want to share a real peek at what it's like to be in a relationship, because so often, especially through social media, we are only seeing the highlight reel. We're only seeing people having cute interactions and doing fun things together, and look what this person bought me, and look how this person thought of me, and you only see the good stuff. You don't see the fight that they had in the car, and who stopped talking to who first, and who called their mom crying about the other person and cried, for 40 minutes, who apologized first, how you worked through that, all that stuff. Dave and I, everything he's been going through medically has tested us, and we've both hit our limits with each other, and we both had to ask huge things from each other. But because we have done that, we've both really showed up for one another. And like, I feel that we've grown in our love and our relationship so much. And I am just feeling really grateful for that. And I'm feeling so grateful for that man who's sitting downstairs, who's just my teammate. He is my teammate. And honestly, I wasn't expecting to talk about this right away, but one of the things that I really wanted to share about during today's episode has to do with loving and accepting people as they are. And it's something that I've had to, Dave and I have been together for 5 years now. And I feel like the more that he accepts me for who I am, and the more that I show up as me in our relationship, the more I love him and also can receive the love that he has for me, and vice versa. The more that I see him for who he really is and seek to understand the human he is and not who I need him to be or who I would prefer for him to be or who I always dreamed I was going to be with, but the more I throw that out the window and just meet him for who he is today, even knowing that sometimes like that's different from the guy that I was with 5 years ago, from the guy that I was with 2 months ago, sometimes it feels like, but I feel safe saying that because the more I understand myself, the more that I know that I'm not the same person I was 2 weeks ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Like, I am changing every single day. So more on that here shortly. As I really want to just dive into more of that through a different lens and kind of talk about it in relation to family members too, because I don't know about you guys, but for me right now, as I'm recording this, is the week of Thanksgiving. Maybe you're listening to this after Thanksgiving, but you're thinking back on holiday memories. But this is the time of year that we're connecting with a lot of people, and it can be challenging. Let's say it that way. But backtracking to where I meant to go with this conversation, I do feel like I have so much support right now with this transition. I have friends who are checking in on me. I have a Patreon community that is full of lovely, amazing humans that are so also in the same place of just taking on the world and figuring yourself out and doing the best we can and embracing the yoga, embracing the meditation. That community supports me and gives me life so much. And of course, my clients through photography, I meet so many amazing people who just pop into our inbox and say that they're thinking of us, and all of that just feels so good. And I will say that what feels so amazing is to finally, for the first time, feel like I am in a better place as far as like having been more caught up on work. And that makes me feel like I can breathe. It makes me feel like I can approach what I am working on with so much joy. And that is something that I'm actively working on, is trying to really tune into this inner voice inside of me about what brings me joy. More on that soon too. So I guess I just need to dive into all of these things, but I love to try to remember to do our little astro check-in first. So you guys, we are coming off of this lunar eclipse that happened last week. And lunar eclipses can kind of be like these revolving doors, or these doors that once we go through it, we're different and things are changing and things are getting left behind and things are being gained and changes are happening, whether we like them or not. And as we come off of this lunar eclipse, and we know it was the first one in these series of Taurus, Scorpio eclipses that are going to be happening through 2023. So the beginning of a really big new cycle. We also have a solar eclipse coming up here, I think next week, maybe end of next week. That is going to be the final eclipse in the Gemini Sagittarius cycle that we are completing. So if you're feeling a lot of stuff up for you right now, just one, know you're not alone, and know that, astrologically there's a lot of support in that, and that things, I think when things like this happen, they're happening hopefully for our highest good, right? Like hopefully because the changes that are happening are going to benefit us somehow. I will say that we're also actually today's November 22nd that I'm recording this. Today, the sun has moved from Scorpio into Sagittarius. And I know so many of you your birthdays are coming up, or you are Sagittarius rising, so you could really connect with this vibration of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a sign that I really did not know a lot about until I started diving more into astrology. And it is one that I wish I had more of in my birth chart. It is such a fun and adventurous and free-spirited sign that it is something that, and it's a fire sign. So as we move into the Sagittarius season, I like to say, really pay attention to where the fire is. And that fire can be the furnace of your home. It could be your stovetop. It could be the twinkle lights of your Christmas decorations. It could be that fire within you, the one that is starting to feel passionate, or that gets lit up by connecting with people and having connection with others. Even giving gifts, right? Like that's something that can inspire you or mean something to you. This is the time of year for really embracing that fire. So the other thing that Sagittarius has also is this love of learning, this constant desire to know more and to be that philosopher, and not just kind of like quick things, but like the deep stuff, the big stuff. So if you are wanting to connect with the spirit of Sagittarius, you can always take a course. You can explore another culture. You can go somewhere, or you can watch movies that have to do with different settings or kinds of people and really let it inspire you and fill your cup up. That is what Sagittarius is. Sagittarius is really fun, adventurous, inspiring, explorative, philosophical, all of that. So now that we're in a new Sagittarius season, embrace that until right before Christmas. Then we'll move into Capricorn season. So we've got four-ish weeks of being in this fire sign. So that's our little preview into our astro segment this week. The heart of what I want to talk about today is, I guess it's more on relationships, more on accepting people, and always on accepting and knowing yourself. So this is kind of an interesting little story or segue. Last week was a really tough week for me. I was really feeling a lot of pressure. I'm trying to make some transitions. Dave and I were definitely in one of those ebbs and flows where things were a little bit tougher, and we weren't making progress, which frustrated both of us. And I was just having a week. So I get a random text message from a friend that's like, "Hey, have you heard of human design readings?" And I couldn't even respond right away. It was just one of those where so much is going on that I text her back at like 10:30, and I'm like, I've heard of human design before, but I really honestly don't know too much about it. And of course she writes back like, "Yeah, me neither. I had heard this podcast and I had thought of you." And that was that. And the next day, I was waiting in the car outside of a doctor's appointment. I'm on TikTok. I'm scrolling, and I come across this TikTok that is talking about human design. And they were talking about manifestation. And like, if you look up your chart and this arrow is this way, like you should write everything down and be very specific about what you manifest. And if you look up your chart and your arrow is pointed this way, you are much more of like a broad strokes kind of person. Like you don't have to like picture it firmly. Like you're just supposed to kind of know in general where you want to head. I'm like, that's interesting. I'm like, what is this? So I go to her profile. Her name is Nadia Quinn. If you want to look her up, you can look her up on TikTok at Nadia Quinn 44. And she actually has like a playlist at the top that says start here. And you can like go straight down and learn about all of this human design stuff, because I'm going to be honest with you, like I am not a teacher in human design. I don't even know if I'm going to have half of the correct words to describe any of what I've been trying to process with you. So I'm going to try to somewhat keep that part out of it, just because I don't feel qualified to share all of those pieces with you. Maybe I can find somebody who wants to come on and talk about human design. I would love that. But what I will say is that going down this rabbit hole really, one, it was fun. It's something that I am very interested in. I love anything that can help you think about the knowledge you have of yourself in a different way. So that's one of the reasons I love astrology. And human design is kind of similar in the sense that, you know, it's just like with astrology, people are like, oh, I don't believe in that. Well, there's really nothing for you to like believe in or not believe in. It's just like, if you find it useful, then awesome. Like these can be wonderful tools for your self-knowledge, for moving through the world, for experiencing yourself and experiencing other people. And that is what I have found so far with human design. And it's been really nice because the more and more that I research me and I research Dave and I start to research my sister and my parents and everybody I love, because I secretly try to collect as much astrological like birth date chart info on my friends and family. I have a note on my phone that I just try to keep it all in so that I can look up their chart information and know more about them in context of who they are and how they move through the world. And it's really helped me as an astrologer be like, oh, right, like this reminds me of this person. They're a Sagittarius rising. They're like, you know, it just helps. But so as I was researching this human design and I'm looking at my own profile and I'm looking up Dave's profile and I'm going down these rabbit holes, listening to new podcasts, just trying to get like a little bit inspired and hear some different thoughts and approaches on this and things like that, I'm kind of starting to begin to picture myself in a different way. And not like, oh, I'm becoming somebody new or anything like that. It's more like when you do this kind of work, it's like kind of like you're excavating like who you've always been. And of course, like, so the type that I am, I will share with you guys, I'm a generator. And from what I understand so far of being a generator, generators are here to build and to work, and they have an amazing energy to them, or they can. Every type does, right? Like we're all unique and beautiful. We all have our own kind of design to us. But generators, one thing I really connected with is this idea of like generators are meant to wake up and have all of this energy to do all of these things that they love, and they can do so many things, and then they go to bed. And they go to bed drained, and then they wake up with a full tank of gas just to go. And I connected with that so much because I'm like, that is me. Like even on my days where I'm resting or I'm taking a break or I'm slowing down, I love to do things like, and that's part of what has been a double-edged sword for me is like, I love to work. I love to edit weddings. I love to design albums. I love to do sessions. I love to create. I love to make lunar guides for people. I love to record the podcast. Like I love to do. And when I'm doing stuff that I love, I do have this endless tank of gas. Like I'm always telling Dave, like, look at all of the things I did today. And I like list them off and it's like, I did this and I did this and, you know, and I'm always so proud of myself for that. But for many years, and this year being one of them, I have kind of subconsciously held other people to that standard. And as I started to look up the human design, I look up Dave's human design, I find that he is a projector. And projectors are here to be, they see the world differently. Like in human design, there's like these little body graphs where you can kind of see different like chakra centers. And in your design, you have either a defined chakra center or for each one of them is either defined or open. And then kind of depending on the combination, it kind of plays into what type you are. So with him, like his chart is kind of like he's got two defined up at the top, so his crown and his third eye, and then below he has nothing else. He is so open, and that goes into his type. He's like a mental projector, but like projector is the type, and essentially like he's here to be a guide. He sees things he can see people very clearly. It's almost like he can see, and I've always said this about him, like he can sometimes see things about me that like I can't even put into words until he says it. Or like we'll meet somebody and he'll say this thing that I'm like, how could you possibly know that? Like he's so wise. But then also, like, what I found out about projectors as I went down this rabbit hole is like projectors do not work the same way as generators at all, especially from a work standpoint. And it's not only because what they're designed to do is different and the way that they're supposed to help the world is different, but even just energetically, like their design doesn't work the same way. They don't have the same ability, like the amount of energy to go, 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 go. They need time to replenish and to sleep and to kind of let go of all of the energy they've taken on and sucked in. And I thought that was so interesting. And it was one of those things that kind of, the more I read about it and the more we talked about it, and I was making him listen to all these podcasts too, and we were driving around doing errands, and I was like just digesting all of this. One, going down the rabbit hole of something like this has been an awesome distraction, but honestly, it's done something that like as a generator I really needed, which is it lit me up. Like I like having a lot of things to focus on, but like they have to be things that inspire me and like create joy in my life. And I felt that. I just have something new to think about and to research and to just be inspiring right now. And the more that Dave and I were talking about this, we're like, yeah, that makes sense for me, or like that, what do you think about this? And how does that feel for you? And, oh, I see this in you. Like, do you see this in me? We're just kind of processing it all. The more that I started to just see all kinds of things differently. And of course, this goes into the real heart of what I want to talk about today. It's like, I'm not telling you to go out there and find your human design, although if you want to, go for it. You got all of those resources. There's plenty online. If you want to DM me, I can even point you in the right direction. But I will say that of course, like I want to look up my sister, and then I want to look up my mom and my dad and my friends, and I want to go down this rabbit hole with everyone. But the reason why is because when we find out why somebody is how they are, then it's easier for us to just give them full license for them to just be themselves. And I'll go to an astrology example that I come back to over and over again. Is when I was first really diving deep into astrology, I pulled up my sister's birth chart and I found out that she has like 6 planets that are in an earth sign. And it clicked so much to me, like why she is how she is. Like she can be very structured and kind of rigid. And she is kind of obsessed with time. Like I used to make fun of her in a way, because she'd be like, look at the clock, and she'd be like, it's 12 o'clock right now. Like that, and this is like a long time ago. She'd be like, if I were in marching band right now, we'd be doing this, or like something like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like why does it even matter? Like she's like always thinking about time and like, what is the plan and when is this happening? And, but then I just realized I'm like, that is her just living herself. Like that, this is who she is. And of course it's always a balance, all of this idea of like your design or how you show up in the world, because we also always have choices, right? Like it's a balance of I am who I am, but then also I have the choice to lean into who I truly am or to lean away from it. And that's something that like I mentioned before, I'm really trying to kind of sort out right now. And I've been really feeling like I'm on this search to kind of parse through like who I really am from who I think I have to be. Do you guys ever feel that way where it's like sometimes there's pieces of ourselves that we've identified with for so long, and then we find out like that they're really not forever pieces. They're not what we thought they were. And I'm still so at the beginning of letting this human design stuff kind of inspire me and get me to think about things differently, that I have no results to share with you. But I will share a hypothesis. And this is something that I think was given to me through human design, but really it's been, like I said, this result of this like long time prayer that I've had for like the past year and a half, which is just trying to figure out how I'm supposed to be. Like what please, like God, like bring me comfort. Let me figure out how to move through this life. Like give me a hint, give me a clue. Like I obviously trying so hard to figure it all out. And sometimes I just feel like I'm missing the mark. And so one thing that I thought was really interesting is I'm looking at my human design, and there's these 4 like arrows, like 2 on the left side, 2 on the right side, and they can point either left or right. And all of my arrows point left. And so I start researching this, and I find that this is not a common thing. Like it's called being quad left. And this is the sign that you are more strategic, and that you need like more structure and routine in different categories. And I kind of struggled with it at first, because I'm like, I know I'm strategic. Like I know that my brain does work that way. Strategy is a word that I love. But I also feel like I'm such a creative person, and I was never good at logic or math or, things that are like analytical. Like I've always considered myself more creative and open and woo-woo. Right? And here I am like seeing all this stuff that has to do with strategy. And I've always lived my life in this kind of organic way where, most of my jobs have had this unpredictability in the schedule, whether I was working at Starbucks, different schedules, night shifts, this, that, like your schedule can change from week to week. Working at Apple, same thing, like different shifts, different things. And I've never really had, then of course I start my own business where I make my own schedule. And even when I thought I would be this very routine oriented person, like I don't feel like I show up like that in my life. And yet I am always complaining about how much I feel like I'm missing stability, and how much I crave stability and security. And I started to think about this, like in terms of my design, like I wonder if living a life that is a little bit more structured, if I try to lean into that a little bit more, instead of saying like, nope, I'm just a flowy person, I need to go with the flow, I'm so spontaneous. I wonder if it would bring me more comfort, or if it would improve it would improve my life. It would improve my design. It would help me actually find more things of joy and be more helpful to people and be more productive, because I would actually be kind of like in this container where I don't have to worry about all of the things that I spend so much time worrying on. So that's kind of my hypothesis. I'm going to be kind of playing with not just that, but a lot of things, and not and things that not la, 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 things that have not just come from human design, but things that have been stewing in my heart for the past however long, that I literally felt I had to completely put on hold because I was in the middle of the wedding season this year and running my business this year. That's what I'm so looking forward to. So the next probably like 6 weeks, I'm going to be on a bit of a new journey. And I started a bucket list last night in my phone of things that I want to work on or experience or do over the next couple weeks. I started with some movies I want to watch. Some are Christmas movies, and some activities, and a lot of recipes I've already written down, because my main things that I want to do for myself is I want to appeal to my Taurus moon. So I haven't completely jumped ship of everything I love and just gone human design. I'm also trying to embrace the astrology stuff. And I have a Taurus moon in my natal chart, and Taurus moons love their home, and they love to be at home, and they love good food, and they love to experience sensual things. And I kind of want to lean into that. Like, I want to go, I've got my list of different meals I want to make, and I want to spend time creating them, and I want to slow down, and I want to be in my body, and I want to do yoga every day, and I want to meditate more. These, of course, are on my list. And I will say, like, if you have anything that you think that I should add to my list that can help with this resetting and this getting back in tune with myself and connecting deep within, whether it's a date night idea that you have, or a place you want to take yourself, you suggest taking yourself for a date, or an activity or something to think about or do, please let me know. Shoot me a DM. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I'm just going to try to embrace some of this and embrace some structure and see how it influences me. And I will say that I was going to end there, but the last thing I wanted to say, because the more that I think about all of this and leading into this week of Thanksgiving and knowing that so many of us are going to be connecting with our family and our closest friends, and some of us are going to be doing things that are a little bit more triggering or challenging, I will just say that, try to see people for who they really are, and not for who you think they should be, nor for who they have been in the past. I think so often we have experiences, and it happens so subconsciously, right? It's like, even today, Dave and I had this silly interaction where we got into the car, and I turned to him sharply, and I was like, when we get back, I have to get on the treadmill and work. And he was like, whoa, where did that come from? And then I thought about it for a second, and just well, I didn't get on the treadmill because you were in the office with me, and you, in the past, you've said it's really loud. You've commented on it. So I assumed that it would be annoying if I went on it because we were listening to this podcast. And of course, I was listening to it from my phone. My phone's not very loud because it's super old. And I just made all of these assumptions. I made the assumptions about what I could or couldn't do, what he'd be comfortable with, what he'd prefer. I didn't ask him. I just assumed. And then I snapped at him later. And he was like, you never have to ask. I don't mind at all. You do you. I didn't mean to, and it was me. I assumed that. And I think the only reason I bring that up is it happens that fast, right? It happens like a snap, where we make a decision based on something that we experienced at one point in an interaction with somebody else. And the truth is, we don't know if that is still a thing, or if we present it in a certain way, if it's going to be the same thing. And we're also allowed to give ourselves new opportunities to move through it and reapproach it and renegotiate it in new ways, right? So if you always have the same fight with your mother, maybe you just start to view her for who she is. and you got to take the space and boundaries that you need to for you. But maybe we don't have to take everything so seriously. That's part of my intentions for this next week, because I'll be spending a lot of time with family over the next couple of days, and I just want things to be as stress-free as possible. So I think the best way I can do that is by accepting people for who they really are, and also accepting things that unfold as they really do, and not having so much pressure or expectations, because we all know how quickly those ruin things. So, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know that I feel like I was a little all over the place today, and I'm going to blame it on having massage brain and also recording this in the evening. But as always, I'm just so grateful to be able to share a bit from within with you. I hope that you join me and tune in again next week. And if you love the podcast, you want to share it with others, or you want to tune in ad-free, you can always check us out on patreon.com/abitfromwithin or abitfromwithin.com. I almost forgot. We got to do our card drawing to end the episode. So if you stuck with me through my outro already, you're in store for something wonderful. Oh, and it came so fast. Okay, I'm not kidding you. We got the card that says acceptance. When I get to know new people, I accept their actual traits rather than the ones I project on them. Same goes for not new people I already know. Wow. Acceptance is the delicate art that reminds us everyone is their own unique self, and we can't expect them to ever be anything but. Wow. I love that. I mean, literally, that's exactly what we're talking about. And this card is so cute. It has snowflakes all over it, which is perfect because that's the thing. We are all so different. I mean, whether it's human design or astrology, or you just know we're all different because each of us has different experiences. Each of us in, the exact situation could react a million different ways. What we need, what we expect, how we're raised, how we move through the world, we're all unique. And the less we can assume things about each other or expect things out of each other, especially in comparison to how we would do it, the better off we're going to be. So we'll let that word acceptance kind of wash over us as we move into another 2021 holiday. All right, everyone, until next time.